Hello, everybody. My name is Kara, and I'm an alcoholic. Hello, everybody. Welcome. And if you're a beginner, please stay. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. We have live recordings on YouTube and Facebook. If you're interested, please see me or Ron after the meeting. We do have some sister meetings here in Doylestown. Monday, right here at 6 p.m., it's a STEP in Literature meeting. And then Thursday at 7:30, we have a Big Book meeting, and we go through the Big Book line by line. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful Big Book meeting. And with that, I'd like to introduce our chairperson, Brian. Let's give Brian a warm welcome.
My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. This is a one-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street at 8:30 in Doylestown, PA. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hand. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purpose of big books and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. If you would like a CD of any speaker, past or present, see me or any home group member before or after the meeting. They are available free of charge. The Aaa Preamble. I would like to ask Eric to come and read the Aaa Preamble.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric, and I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And at this time, I'm going to have Andrew come up to read the 12 steps.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew, and I'm an alcoholic. And these are the 12 steps of recovery. Number 1, we admitted we are powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and a power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
The 7th tradition, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops. There's absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. I would like to introduce a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group, Sydney L. from the Design for Living Group in Neptune, New Jersey. Help me welcome Sydney.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sydney, and I am an alcoholic. Ron, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm going to start with a little glimmer of change, of hope that I had today. It's very small, but it was a change. I went to put on my dress shirt and couldn't fit into it. I couldn't close the collar. And so I quickly ran to Kohl's to buy a dress shirt. But I guess Christmas shopping, everything was just ravaged. There were no shirts. None. Except smalls. And I said to myself, well, wow, calmly, I said to myself, I'm going to have to now drive to Macy's. And then I realized, Macy's may be out of it. I can wear this kind of polo shirt and with a tie, and it's not really such a big deal. Now, I would have never, 2 years ago, I would have been crazed about that shirt and driven myself crazy all day, running from place to place to place. So, after 36 years of sobriety, I offer you just that little glimmer of hope. And that's not to say that just several months ago, I sent such a toxic email to an ex that if they sent that to the police, there would be a restraining order against me. So, with that, there's hope and progress still happening with me. So my sobriety date is October 15th, 1985. I'm 36 years sober. I'm 63 years old. I came into AA when I was 27 years old, the first time, and have never picked up a drink since, and that is just a miracle, a miracle. Throughout my drinking career from 13 to 27, I have been a binge drinker, I've been an everyday drinker, I've been a periodic. I would say with a periodic, that would probably be just the 2 or 3 days of recovering from a real horrible bout of I understand that it's not really alcohol poisoning, but that's a sort of different thing. But whatever it was, I'd be in bed for 2 or 3 days, so sick that I could not even move. It's really interesting. So many of us talk about the consequences of drinking. The DUIs, the family problems, the soul sickness. And it's really rare that we hear just about the physical symptoms, right? I mean, it's so incredible when I think of the young me being in bed for 3 days with hangovers and body aches and vomiting. What normal person would experience that and then do it again, right? I mean, we know about the phenomenon of craving, we know about the allergy, and normal people, I'm allergic to strawberries. When I have it, I break out into a rash. Well, they don't eat strawberries. Peanuts, their throat closes up. I'm allergic to peanuts. They don't eat peanuts. But yet I put alcohol in my body time and time again, and now I'm just talking about the physical symptoms. Being so deathly ill, hungover, vomiting for days, the pain of it, and yet I do it again and again and again. It's just incredible. So let me start from the beginning. As you can imagine, I was a gorgeous child, and I came from a wonderful family. I was given every opportunity to succeed in life, and alcohol took all of that away from me. All the golden opportunities presented to me by family, friends, teachers, all dissolved due to my drinking. And it's just really, really incredible. You know, my story is really, thank God I came in at 27. Like in the big book, they stopped in time, right? You know, talks about young people coming in and stopping at time. So there were no jails or institutions, and clearly not death. You know, but the jails and institutions of my mind and my soul were there and strong. So, you know, I picked up alcohol at the age of 13. It was really like summer drinking, and the consequences were rare. At 16 and 17, I had already experienced those sort of deadly hangovers, where I can't speak for civilians, but I know the friends that I had, when they experienced that kind of teenage drinking, they never did that again. But I continued, despite the consequences of vomiting and being in bed for 2 days. When I went away to college at 18 years old, I was away from my parents and the controls were off, and I blew through a college career. The golden opportunity, the money my parents spent. I spent 1.5 years at college where I did not attend classes really most of the time. I lived by night and I slept away the days. And my parents would funnel money into the student union, and I used college like a motel, like a party school. I actually, the last semester of college, I was there for 1.5 years. So what is that, a freshman, sophomore? The first semester of my sophomore year, I withdrew from all my classes and did not tell my parents, and I used it as a hotel for partying. And at the time, my girlfriend and I were the only ones up on campus, and she drank like I did, and we would try and break into food vending machines because the student union was closed. When I left college, the geographic that I took was that college wasn't for me. I didn't want to be a conventional person. My ism and my defects of character and my being lost and directionless, I figured I would become an actor. And so the geographic would be to go to acting schools. And so I left college and had my parents enroll me in acting schools, where all the different ones that I went to, all of my classes were conveniently placed late in the afternoon so I could sleep it off and go to the discotheques of the day and the bars. And mind you, I want you to know that this is all in retrospect. It never dawned on me that my behavior was alcoholic or that I had an alcohol problem. My story is like more about alcoholism, the impact and the understanding of true denial. The denial of my alcoholism really came dismantled when I entered AA. It was here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous where I heard your stories during that 90-day process of going to 90 meetings. I went, every day, and listening to all of your stories is where my first step experience came to life. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous prior to coming into AA. The sort of psychological help as an outpatient at a recovery center that I sought was really something that I thought was just happening maybe like the last 7 months of my drinking. I never thought that my history from 13 to 27 was alcoholic in any way. I mean, I can give you the type of examples dealing with society with that. I had teachers come over to me, one in particular, who asked me, are you okay? Do you have an alcohol problem? And I'm telling you that when she said that to me, I could not even fathom why she said that to me, because as far as I was concerned, I didn't. And it didn't even plant a seed or some doubt in me. I really thought she was crazy. I met some friends at a bar who became sort of fair-weathered friends that you meet at a bar, and one of the guys got engaged, and he had a engagement party, a big fancy engagement party. And when I was and a lot of the fair-weathered friends of the bar came to this party. When I was walking through the party, they summoned me to sit down and sort of have my food, get a plate of food and sit at the table and join them. And one of the dudes from the bar said, he's not going to do that, he'd rather drink his lunch. And I was stunned, like, this dude doesn't even know me. He must be jealous or resentful or something about me. It didn't even dawn on me that there was a possibility that there was an alcohol problem. The real problem was that I am so unique and special and creative, and where I come from is not okay. What you want from me is not okay. And the worst part of it is that I have no clue what it really is that I want to make me okay. And the thinking mind that's so obsessive and so pained and so insecure, and the work of putting on a mask and moving through life with confidence, being liked socially, being popular, and having lots of friends, but still having that sense of separateness all the time, that the only relief that assuaged the fear of perhaps a shoe dropping with the crowd that I was with, something horrible being said or a bad occurrence, that drink was such a solution. What a comfort. We hear it all the time in AA, to be more handsome, to be more confident, to be part of, to be more loose, to make my sexual guilty pleasures possible, just all of those things. Part of my story was I was a 18-and-a-half-year-old boy who was invited to a party back then. You guys probably saw the documentary to Studio 54 in its heyday. It was only open several months. Part of leaving college was I left college to go to Studio 54, and I was mind-boggled with what I was seeing in there. The celebrities, the glamour, the models, the beauty, the wealth, and also the ego of me being, 18 and a half, turning 19 and getting in there. But deep down inside, knowing that I'm not a part of, I clung to a higher power most of my life, which was the material world. Fame, fortune, status. These were the things that could make any human being whole. These were the things that I truly believed would make me happy. And I sought those things with a vengeance and a passion, the same way I drank. My drinking always escalated in these situations because I just couldn't bear being who I was, just this sort of regular dude, from this regular family in Queens, and I wanted so much more, and just guzzling that booze in those party situations just made me so much more comfortable. My drinking took me to, I was, the chameleon we hear about in Alcoholics Anonymous. I drank in the sleaziest bars. I drank in the fanciest places. I've done it all. I've worn so many different hats, but the result was always the same. Drinking to oblivion, a consequence, whether it was me falling down a flight of stairs or doing some outrageous anger thing in some bar, doing like, some drunk kung fu thing and breaking the wall mirror and being thrown out, or hurting loved ones, right? Emotional and physical fights. The most important thing is that really when one comes home, it's being left with myself and the soul sickness. I don't want to tell all parts of my story because there's a lot, right? So let me fast forward. You know what I want to talk about? Not just the things that happened to me. When I really think about the disease of alcoholism as a young guy, and what it does to other people. I was telling my friend Anthony here in the car ride, I remember when I went away to college. I had a summer girlfriend, and when I went to college, I had quickly found another girlfriend, and I was a mess. Heavy drinking in my first semester of college, and I was really drunk, and my summer girlfriend asked if she can come up to visit, and I didn't know what to do, and she came up to visit, and she told me that she was carrying my child, and she was a little older than me, and at 18 years old, I turned around to her, and I told her that, get out of this room. I'm not interested if you think you're going to have this baby or that I'm going to be the father of this baby. I'm 18 years old, and I don't want anything to do with this. And I have a girlfriend now, by the way, also, so get out. I mean, that is just incredible to do that to a human being, drunk or sober. But I was drunk, and years later, I found that woman, and I sat across a table from her, and I made amends. And we both wept, and sometimes amends are an amazing thing, right? Because it frees two people. And at that particular amends, and we're still in contact today. She loves all my stuff on Facebook and things like that. But she sat across from me, and her forgiveness was, she said, hey, I don't hold it against you. You were 18 and afraid, and so forth and so on. But I can think of not showing up when my best friend's father died. I couldn't show up for the funeral because I was drunk. My best friend, I couldn't do it. Or when my mother had quadruple heart bypass, and she lived in Queens, and I was living in Manhattan, and I couldn't be the son that I ended up being after I got sober. But visiting her in Queens, I had to sleep it off, and then if I was going to go to Queens, that was like when, cocktail hour started at the bars. It just messed up my drinking, and I couldn't really show up. Years later in sobriety, the gift is that years later, when she became ill, not only was I there for her, I had the privilege of holding her hand as she died. What a gift sobriety gave me with that. So, let's move forward. I go away on a vacation to Florida, and I'm 20 years old, and my cousin takes me to a gay motel, and I had never been, to any type of gay bar before. I didn't see Studio 54 as a gay venue. I was 18 and it was very mixed, and I wasn't out of the closet. I didn't know any of that stuff. And that evening, under the influence of lots of booze, I fell in love. And he lived in San Francisco, and I lived in New York. And even though I had just left college and I just started acting schools, my next geographic would be San Francisco. And there I go to San Francisco to be with him and to come out of the closet, and no one in New York would know. It would be a whole new life. And I get off the plane and I meet him in a bar. He picks me up and he takes me to a bar, and I have my first afternoon drink. I would have had many afternoon drinks if I had been up in the afternoon. So this was my first afternoon drink sitting in that bar, and boy, I had arrived. that sensation of that booze. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, everyone was gay. It was like, wow, I can't believe this. And all I can tell you is that I arrived in San Francisco with high hopes of maybe, I don't know, getting a job in some kind of small theater group there, and then eventually making my way to Los Angeles. And I had beautiful corduroys from Bloomingdale's, and beautiful shirts and sort of sweaters for the crispy San Francisco weather. And within weeks, my alcoholism, my drinking progressed to such an extent, and the delusions and the illusions of my life, my perspective, my moral compass, my value system deteriorated. I don't know what happened to those clothes. I was left with really sort of dungarees and a cut-off sweatshirt, and I found myself on Salvation Army lines and doing things on the streets of San Francisco for money so I can have booze and maybe a little bit of food that I never thought I would ever do in my life. I had a moment of clarity after a year in San Francisco that if I remained, that I would die. And so I returned home to my parents. And it wasn't working because I could not drink the way I had come to learn and need in San Francisco at my parents' home. And so I didn't know what to do. And as being a great manipulator, I knew that my parents were so thrilled to have me back home. And I began talking of going back to San Francisco, and I can see how terrified they were. And I manipulated them to get me an apartment of my own, and I was now 21 years old. And they did, and they paid for everything. Everything. I had no expenses. The one condition was that I had to work for a friend of my father's. And so, and I was paid cash under the table, and that money was gone. The second I got that money, it was gone within hours. And I couldn't show up for work because I was always drunk or hungover and called in sick or on the job drunk. And of course I was fired. And my father pulled the plug on the apartment, and on my 22nd birthday, I went to a bar after my friends had their one or two drinks at a restaurant, and we went back to a friend's apartment, and they had maybe one more. It wasn't enough for me, and I went to a nightclub, and I got really, really drunk. And that evening, at 22, I met a man who was 59, and he was really wealthy, and he lived on Park Avenue, and he knew a lot of fancy people and lived a fancy lifestyle, and he drank like I did, and I moved in with him. And so my father had nothing to worry about. So, this was my way of taking care of myself. So I can tell you that this period of my life was what I thought I had arrived. Like Bill being on the golf course, right? I'm talking about fancy people, fancy restaurants, great clothes, all of that stuff, the armor and the mask of that could not hide the soul sickness that was going on in here. My friends and family were all concerned about me, about my choices, living with him, what am I doing, the potential I have, one day, I'll move forward. I had to begin working. He said that I was spending too much money, and my parents said I was spending too much money. I was using both their credit cards, asking them to bail me out each time I rang up huge bills at bars and nightclubs and things like that. Both of them had had enough, and my father insisted that I go to work for my father, and I couldn't hold that job down either. And so what happens is what we hear a lot in AA. One night coming home from work, I got drunk enough where my biggest never would never, ever happen, but I went home with someone who introduced me to intravenous drug use. I did that night, being piss drunk, and that value system or that yet was never going to happen, but it happened that night. And having all these track marks on my arms and knowing that I would have to call my brother for the millionth time, not being able to come to work, I didn't know what to do, and I'm walking home through Central Park at 6 in the morning, and the birds are chirping, and I get home to the apartment, and my partner at the time says, where were you? I'm going to call your parents now. And I said, no, don't. I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic. And I swear to you that I truly believe at that time when I said that I said that because I ran out of excuses. But I think God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. And then I called my brother and told him that I have an alcohol problem. And I went to an outpatient rehab 3 times a week. And, they gave me a lot of self-knowledge and stuff like that, but I would relapse at the end of sort of each month there. They all wanted me to attend Alcoholics Anonymous, but being in group therapy with them, I listened to their really crazy problems, and I was nothing like them. So, they needed AA, but not me. And I would relapse at this outpatient thing, and finally they were going to throw me out of group, and unless I went to an AA meeting. And October 15th, 1985, I went to my first AA meeting. I timed that so I could have the long extended Columbus Day weekend that fell out on that year. And I walked into that AA meeting, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it was just incredible. I'm 27 years old, and I'm leading like the high life in New York City. What I believed was a material world life that would bring anyone happiness, and who could give something like that up? And all I can tell you is that within 90 days of attending AA meetings, with 1 foot in those fancy nightclubs and restaurants and 1 foot in AA, those restaurants and nightclubs just sort of faded away, and you guys became the most substantive thing I've ever experienced. Finally, I was home. Finally, there was a connection and this no sense of separateness. I understood all of you, and this sense of acceptance and hope was just incredible. And I really took to AA in an incredible way. I always did service. I always shared. I went to tons of meetings, and I still do that today. When I was counting days, my sponsor came over to me. I asked him, when will the obsession for drinking be lifted? And he asked me if I believed in God. And when he asked me that, I was like, oh my God, like, what have I gotten myself into? I didn't think that AA was about that. And I was so uncomfortable, and part of me wanted to bolt, but I'm a great people pleaser, and it was so easy to go like, sure, And the thing is that I didn't not believe in God. It's just I was agnostic in every area of my life in regard to God, except the toilet bowl prayers, or God, if you get me out of this scrape, I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. Or if this sickness or the spins or the vomiting goes away, I'll never do it again. That was the only God I knew. And he told me, I want you to go home, and every morning and every night I want you to say, God, thank you for keeping me sober. And please remove the obsession and the compulsion to drink. And I said, of course I'll say that. And knowing that I would not. And I left the meeting and I went home, and for some strange reason, I got on my knees that night and in the morning, and I said the obsession prayer. And I've been doing it, haven't been doing that prayer, but I was doing that for probably a year and a half. And I really believe that during the counting of the days of my early recovery, that mustard seed of willingness, that honesty, open, and willingness to just trust and just do that, opened some kind of spiritual window in my life and for my recovery. So I'm truly grateful for that first sponsor and that obsession prayer. My journey in Alcoholics Anonymous throughout the years has been incredible. I mean, in 36 years, you can imagine, right, the roller coaster of life on life's terms. But, you know, some of the most wonderful things that have happened were the privilege of holding my mom, you know, before she passed, and I had the privilege of doing that with 2 different partners as well, which is such a gift, and being there responsibly for their death and dying, and of course for tons of friends. Being an AA'er in the 80s, I was able to experience some of the first spiritual experiences, if you will, of a higher power working in other people's lives. It was the height of the AIDS crisis, and I belonged to groups where men would walk in as skeletons with Kaposi sarcoma all over their bodies, incapable of walking, and they were in their 20s. But they were showing up to make the coffee, their service commitment, and walking through the streets of New York City, being ogled by civilians on the streets, looking at these creatures who were dying in front of them. I saw the higher power in their lives. I saw the faith and the trust and the courage that Alcoholics Anonymous gave them, those men. And so many of us, you know, supported these men and went to their funerals at such a young age. And I survived, and my friends survived all of those experiences, you know, by the support of AA, our friends dying. You know, A Vision for You talks about the community that rises upon us. I mean, it's incredible. In 36 years, all of my AA friends have come to my parents' funerals and my partner's funerals and my celebrations, and I graduated college in sobriety. I've opened up businesses in sobriety. There is hope. I was always self-supporting on other people's contributions. Always. And here I am, you know, opening up businesses and things like that. And some of them failed financially, but that was okay. You know, they were just gifts that were happening. And then the adversity that would occur in my life. Alcoholics Anonymous has helped me move through those things. And many of them, really, most of my own doing. My self-will, my self-propulsion, you know, getting in the way of life and really happy living, you know, but being close in the center of AA always has gotten me through. When I had 25 years sober, I knew a lot of people, I had a lot of sponsees, and very, very active in AA. But I had a double life. Only a few close friends, you know, knew about my woes. My sex life was out of control. My career life was out of control. My financial life was out of control. And I just wasn't happy. But I had that amazing AA face because I showed up to a lot of meetings. I did service, and I was taking guys through the steps. But something was wrong. Oh, actually, I wasn't taking guys through the steps then. I was just sponsoring them. And so I started to go back to big book study meetings. And at 25 years sober, I found a guy who took me line by line through the big book, and I was lit up. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was just an incredible experience. For me, at 25 years sober, the first step experience I was now able to apply in a different way than I did with drinking. There were things that were so unmanageable in my life, right? And that I was powerless over. And so I was able to see that my behavior and my self-will and my self-propulsion was creating this unmanageability. And the second step came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. I understood that sanity had nothing to do with my drinking consequences, crashing cars, the DUIs, the headaches, the fights, that the sanity is just simply knowing the truth that I can never drink like a normal person. That if I have one drink, the phenomenon of craving occurs, and I'm off to the races and chaos ensues. But now the second step at 25 years, I was able to see the truth about my behavior as well. That the truth is that if I'm looking for love in all the wrong places, if I'm doing this stuff with my finances, of course this is going to happen. And so I made that decision, and I got on my knees with my sponsor, and I made that decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And when you do a fourth step at 25 years sober, with 25 years of resentments and historical things. My first fourth step was when I had 4 years in AA. And in those days, in the 80s, in Manhattan, I'm sure you guys have heard that a lot. It wasn't really as trendy as it is today. It really wasn't happening, a lot of the step work. We used to do, step meeting was out of the 12 and 12. Which was really, interesting. And my fourth step was more like an autobiography. But you know what? I'm not poo-pooing that because the intent was there. And that's very important. I went through that evangelical stage when I was taken line by line through the big book at 25 years. That has passed. I don't judge anyone's way of having an experience in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm one of those people who don't poo-poo meetings where people are not talking about the book, and maybe they're all raising their hands and talking about co-op problems or mortgage problems, because in 36 years, and in those early days, I have seen miracles take place in all those rooms. Do I think that one should go through the steps with a sponsor line by line? Yes, because I've experienced what happens when one does that. I understand that. But the rooms of AA have something magical that occurred in them. And sometimes it just takes what it takes for certain people. When I did my fourth step, I saw myself as I had never seen before, and I understood it was all me. It was all me, all along. And I saw my mistakes. And of course, I learned that it was not my part, because to imply that it was my part would mean that the other person had a part in it, and I saw that it was all my mistakes. And when I did my fifth step, there was such relief. I couldn't believe that I told this man all this truth. And then I was on to 6 and 7. And I can tell you that 6 and 7 has been so important to me. And I also want to let you know that I'm not trying to suggest that I'm completely unspiritually fit now, but because I'm talking about the steps, I'm talking about the things that I've experienced with it. But I'm not a man who is always on the beam. I'm not a man who's always praying and meditating. I'm just an undisciplined 36-year sober man, who's human and doesn't have great discipline, and sometimes I'm really on the beam with all those things, and when I am, life is pretty good. Really, just like in the 11th step in the end. It works, it really does. And when people hold hands, it works if you work it. And the truth is that I've seen that in my life. If I work it, it works. And what is working it? Prayer and meditation, working with others. I believe, I'm so grateful that the psychic change has occurred that has freed me from the obsession and compulsion to drink. What a gift, truly, what a gift. Being in my own way in 36 years, so many times where I've created my own havoc, I'm so grateful that I was always working with a sponsee, because working with another alcoholic keeps me immune from picking up a drink. Though the message of the book is really much more that I can have a happy, joyous, and free life if I do those things and have the obsession removed, but then really live a life of service in all areas of my life, and pray and meditate so I can have a more serene life. So in 6 and 7, I really found that in the early days it was more about sort of progress, not perfection. And if I had a defect of character, I was just sort of told to, get on my knees and ask for it to be removed, and it would be on God's time, if it were removed. And these can be all scholarly discussed and things like that. And I understand the conception of that. But for me, 6 and 7 is a very, very different thing today. To me, it's an action step. And it's not just the action of praying to God for a defect of character to be removed. It's taking an action. And so an example that I will give you, if my sex life was in trouble because of all those apps and the obsessiveness with that and all of the horrible dating situations and sexual situations like that, and I want that removed from my life so I can open a spiritual window and meet someone healthy and I can become healthier. So I get on my knees and I ask God for that to be removed from my life. But I also have to take my phone and delete those apps. I have to take that action. For me, it's not just asking God to remove it. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me. I got to do some building, right? And if it's gossip, right? I may be in the diner with all of you and you start gossiping, and I don't know, maybe I turn to you guys and say, hey, listen, you're all program people. I'm working on my gossip. Please please don't gossip tonight. And of course, you'll all give me the finger and say, get lost. But maybe I have to get up and leave or something. It's about action. So I made my list and it's time for amends. Let me tell you a great amends story. Well, it's not so great. I think it's great. But during that period where I was living with men, I decided I didn't want to be gay anymore, and I started to go to the straight bars, and I met a woman, and I had a love affair with her for a year. And I was a terror, always drunk, violent, emotionally abusive, kicking down her door. She had a doorman. I was barred from the building. I would sneak in, all that kind of stuff. And this was when I was 25. At 25 years sober, my sponsor says, you better find her and make amends to her. Where my first sponsor said, leave her alone. She doesn't want to hear from you. You don't know what she's doing. Leave her alone. My 25 years, my sponsor said, find her. I couldn't find her. No social media. She was nowhere to be found. And I told my sponsor, I don't know why, but she's not on any social media. He said, well, then just pray for her. So, I start praying for her for 3 days, and I bump into a friend who knew her, and he says, she went away to another state and got married, and she's not using her maiden name anymore, so that's probably why, and I don't know where she is, but I heard that through the grapevine. So I told my sponsor that, and he said, keep on praying. I'm in the East Village with a friend of mine talking program at this restaurant, and it's a spring day, and in the evening on a Saturday night, and he's asking me about my step work and how's it going, and he asked me in particular about her because I told him, is there any other way I can find her? And he says, no, but you're doing a great job. You're just praying, And so we pay our bill, and I open the door, and there she is, right there. And I always like to say this. She wasn't there. She wasn't there. And to people on the tape, that's right and left. She was right there. And sometimes God just tosses you a bone, man. When I saw her there, before the approach even, her back was towards me, and I knew it was her. She had come in from North Carolina with 15 women to see a Broadway show that night, and took them all down to the East Village to show them the gentrification of the East Village, the odds, the spiritual synchronicity of that. God, thank you, you're really there. My faith and trust in a higher power, in God, and knowing that this work is really working and that he's there, just filled me up. She turned around and she said, Sydney? I said, Julia? And I approached her, and we, talked, and I asked if I could meet with her, and we had lunch, and I made amends to her. And she's also likes me on Facebook and, chats with me today and stuff like that. So that got a lot better. And, Also, I'll tell another quick amends story. When I was lit on fire with 6 and 7, man, I just did my 5th step, 25 years sober, line by line. I have a lot of knowledge, and a lot of AA behind me, and I'm a good AAer, lots of service. And now I've gone through the book line by line, and 6 and 7, these defects of character are going to be a cinch. And I get a phone call right when I'm thinking that. And this guy knew I sold a piece of property, and he wanted some money. Wow, like those, that all went out the window real quick when someone wanted, money. And I tell you that my relationship with this person throughout our lives was a financial dysfunction. So there wasn't an accountability or a true understanding of the lending of money, me to him to me, and all that. And so I went to my sponsor and said, I don't know if I really owe him this money. And, I'm not a doormat. And I asked him what it's for, and he didn't know. He doesn't know, so why should I give him? That's his problem. If he lets me know, then maybe I'll remember and I'll understand. And my sponsor said, well, that property you sold isn't really yours. It was a gift from your parents. It's not really your money. And in this particular case, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? And I really understood. And I wrote that check. And I sent it to him. And I cannot believe how free I was when I was writing that check and put that in the mail, and when I knew that they received that. And the relationship that we had after that, he and his family and all that, there was just something different in the air. What a beautiful thing. And I've also had an amends where the person I made amends to, an ex who was also in recovery, said that I did a thorough and beautiful job, but doesn't want anything to do with me because of A, B, and C. And I promise you that I did not do A, B, and C. I did it, okay, but I kept quiet and I just listened. And that separation was what God needed for both of us, because we didn't have to exchange those codependent holiday greetings and things like that. We needed that estrangement, and that amends was able to separate both of us and both give us freedom to move on with our lives. 10 and 11 and 12. Well, it's not so important. No, that's just an AA joke. Lately I really begin thinking about 10, and I think about, I've had a really rough couple of years, a real rough couple of years with a lot of self-will, relationship stuff, finance stuff, right? I mean, a lot of the 4th step, right? Romance and finance, big parts of it, and a lot of self-will. And is there really a 10th step if we're not really living in 6 and 7? I mean, how can we avoid anger and self-pity, and dishonesty throughout the day and these resentments if we're not really living in 6 and 7 in those prayers on a daily basis? And so when I'm on the beam, I really try to do that so 10 really becomes a freer day. And it's not to say that anger or dishonesty or self-pity wouldn't crop up, but it's different when I'm really on the beam. And I'm grateful for my timeline, for being able to see sort of the angel and the devil in my life so clearly. And sometimes I'm just so stubborn that I just won't do it, because I just have to have my self-will, and I'm going to be agnostic, when it comes to my love life and my finances, because I know better, and that can still happen to me today. On awakening, in the 11th step prior to ever having gone through the steps. When that was shown to me, I have used that so much throughout my recovery. What a beautiful way to start the day. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, truly, you know, it's interesting how Bill talks about, you know, that we shouldn't pray for selfish things and it should be for other people and things like that. But if you really look at the beauty of On Awakening, it's really a very personal, for me, kind of prayer. You know, there's so much, and I would imagine with all of you and for everyone listening, there's so much indecision and clarity as that we need in our lives as alcoholics. I mean, we're very different, right? Mind, body, and spirit, you know, and this program has offered us a solution to our thinking and to our drinking and to our spirit and the way we move through life. But we're still human, right? And we rest on our laurels. And what a beautiful way, you know, to ask God for a decision and some clarity with this problem, and then to let go, right? Ultimately, like there's a synchronicity in all the steps. They're linear in the beginning when we go through them, right? 1 through 12. But then, once we experience that awakening, the steps become like a bracelet with a clasp, and I think this clasp is 6 and 7. And this synchronicity, this circle, you know, you're not living in 11 or doing 10 if you're not living in 3, right? Or doing 6 and 7. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I love the way my life works when I'm in that circle of the steps. The 12th step has helped me so much, especially the last 2 years. Taking people through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is an incredible experience. The beauty of helping someone and seeing the lights go on in their eyes has been extremely rewarding. But more importantly, I have seen and experienced the ability for me to get out of my head when I work with another alcoholic, and that when my day is modeled in fear and anxiety or jealousy or relationship problems or some financial fear, when I end up having to meet my sponsee and go through the Big Book, all of it disappears. All of it disappears for that period of time. And I'm blessed to have a reference that after that period of time, if I go home and do my nightly review and pray and work with others continually, and upon awakening, say prayers, that my life will be better. But it's up to me. I think for all of us, every day when we wake up, we are always in the fork in the road. For me, I always am. It's what's my choice to be? Is it going to be my self-will, my self-propulsion, or is it going to be God, prayer, and service today? What's my choice to be? And so moving forward, I hope that I continue to make the right choice. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tonight, and I said something that may be helpful to all of you. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Teresa. I'm an alcoholic. Let's give Sydney another round of applause. Our speakers, they come here on their own time and expense. It's customary that we form a line and thank them after the meeting. A reminder that we have our hoodies back. So our hoodies are free with a $20 donation. Just see me or Ron after the meeting. We are meeting here, same time, same place next week. Hope to see all of you. And we have the best coffee in all of Bucks County. Howard flies to South America every single week to pick out the coffee beans. And we have a nice way of closing. I invite all who care to join me in closing with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from